Hello, good morning, everyone, and how are you doing today? Let's confirm that you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly by typing hi in the comment section so that we can get this started. So kindly confirm if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly by typing hi in the comment section so that we can get the session started. So let's confirm we're all on the same page. All right. Okay. What's happening in the comment section here? All right. We have Carrie in the house. Good morning, Carrie. How are you doing today? Thank you for that confirmation. We have Vivi. Good morning, Vivi. Good morning, Hammer Boy. All right. Okay. Okay, let's take this as a confirmation that we can all see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly. So we are good to go. Well, I'm excited to welcome you to another promising session on the Extreme Speed Life Hub. My name is Sheriff Daramola, and in the next 1 hour, I shall be your host, where we shall be embarking on a trading journey, evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us today. With that being said, if you have any pair you want us to look at, feel free to drop it in the comment section. It's better you drop them early on in the session so that we can try to squeeze this into the session that you're starting right now. So, with that being said, let's dive into the current chart and let's see what is going on in the market right now. When looking at what has been happening since the beginning of the week, we can see that price action has been moving in a consolidation phase in most of all the pairs we have been looking at since Monday. With that being said, let's look at what is happening on the US oil. So, scaling down to the 1 hour time frame, and let's do a quick replay of what our expectations were as at yesterday. And if we look at the current structure here, we can see that as at yesterday, we were around this bearish trend line. Remember, we identified this bearish trend line that has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of the week. And one thing I said here is that if we start seeing selling pressure around this area, then a breakdown of the $86 level, a very important key level during the course of the last 2 or 3 months now, we will be looking for selling opportunity. And this is exactly what happened yesterday. We saw the final breakdown of the $86 area, hereby emphasizing the strength of the sellers at this point. So with the take profit target sitting at around the $83.70 level, we were able to lock in some profit yesterday with over 220 pips on the sell position we took advantage of during the course of yesterday's trading session. So at this point in time, I would like to congratulate those who took advantage of the opportunity, as we saw a situation where price has moved to the downside, respecting that bearish trend line one more time. And with the multiple rejection of the $83.70 area, if we look at what has been happening here in the last 48, 72 hours, we continue to see buying pressure at that area. So because of this, I was able to enter a buy position here during the early hours of today. And let's see if price is going to push further to the upside, or we're going to be having a breakdown of the $83.70 level. Well, with that being said, I want us to have an holistic view of what's really going on in this market by scaling up to the daily time frame. Let's have an holistic view. Let's see if whatever position we are holding at this point in time is still very valid based on the current structure. So we will be scaling up to the daily time frame on the US oil. And on the daily time frame, what do we have here? Now, looking at the structure we have here and looking at what has been happening here in the last 18 months, in fact, in the last 2 years now, we can see that price action has been on a bullish momentum. And as a result of this, I was able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us that resultant bullish trend line that has been pushing bullish momentum since the beginning of the year. Now, if we zoom into the current structure, because this is what is most important at this point in time, that is the structure between the month of August and the month at the present moment we are right now. And if we look at the current structure here, the most important level here is the $86 area. And why have I chosen the $86 area as a very important key level? Well, if we look into the past, we can see how this level has been a major determinant of price action. If we look at what happened here in the month of August, we saw how this level was holding buying pressure, pushing price to the upside from that area. And if we fast forward into the month of September, we saw how sellers took advantage of that weak buying pressure here to break down that level, and throughout the month of September, price continued to trade right below the $86 area, hereby emphasizing the strength of the sellers at that point in time. However, during the early days of the month of October, we got an information from the OPEC Plus meeting that they will be cutting oil production, and this was reflected on the chart with this engulfing candle that broke above the $86 level, also shares a confluence with the bearish trend line that has been holding selling pressure in the last 6 months. We saw that breakout of structure to give us that bullish signal. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have an impulsive move like this, we expect at one particular point in time price is likely going to come back, do a retest of structure, and this is exactly what happened. We saw a retest of structure. Price was caught within a consolidation phase, evolving into a reversal pattern that broke out of the neckline area at the $86 area. Remember that key level one more time, retest of that key level, and we enjoyed this bullish momentum right back into the $93.50 level. Now, if we zoom into the current structure here, that is what has been happening since the month of October, we can see that price appeared to be caught within a consolidation phase right within the $93.50 level, that is the selling niche here, and the $86 area, which is the buying niche around this area, to give us a flat channel. And because of this situation here, what does this tell us? It tells us that participants in this market are actually caught within an indecision phase right now, as they are actually not sure of where price might likely go. And how do we trade this? All we just need to do is to remain patient, look out for signals so that we can take advantage of this move. So at the beginning of this week, after enjoying this bearish momentum during the course of last week's trading session, we took advantage of this move right back into the $86 level. And one thing we noticed at the beginning of the week was this breakdown of this trend line that has been holding bullish momentum since the mid-month of October. So with the breakdown of the structure, we said, okay, fine. Since we already have a breakdown of structure, we look forward to a retest of the structure to incite a trend continuation to the downside. We also took advantage of this move. Price came back into the $86 area, but something interesting happened here. We saw how the $86 level again has been holding buying pressure since the beginning of the week, hereby emphasizing the strength of the buyers at this point. So going into the New York session today, what is going to be our plans as we continue to see buy pressure right below the $86 level? Are we going to be seeing a situation where this buy pressure is going to take price to the upside one more time, probably into the resistance level at the $93.50 area? Or are we going to be seeing a situation in form of a trend continuation pattern around here that might incite a trend continuation to the downside? So this is what we are going to be looking at on the lower time frame. Let's see what is really going on around here, and let's make use of the structures there to determine and plan against the New York session today. So we will be scaling down to the 1 hour time frame at this point, and when we scale down to the 1 hour time frame, what is our observation? Now look at what has been happening here since the beginning of the week. Remember, we took advantage of this impulsive move. Hold on a second. Okay, so since the beginning of the week, we saw a situation where price was caught within a channel right within the $89.50 level and the $88.20 area. And the signal that came on Monday was a very good signal for us. We saw the breakdown of that support level at the $88.20 area. We saw price coming back to do a retest of structure, lining up with the bearish trend line here, and we took advantage of this bearish momentum at the beginning of the week, right below the $88.20 area, and it took us right back into the $83.70 level. And if you look at what has been happening here since the beginning of the week, we will notice that since price tested the $83.70 area, we have been noticing buying pressure from that area. So look at what happened here on Tuesday. We saw multiple rejection by the buyers, negating all selling pressure from the sellers to push price again to the upside. Though price went a little bit to the upside, it was met with another resistance from the sellers, respecting that bearish trend line one more time. We saw another respect of the bearish trend line one more time, pushing price right back into that demand zone during the course of the New York session yesterday. So with another rejection of that level, what this simply tells us is that the buyers are actually strong at that particular point in time. So selling the US oil at this area is not something that will be reasonable at this point. The only reason I want to be selling the US oil at this area is simply if price breaks down that $83.70 level, that is price action takes out all the buy position around this area, then I want to be seeing this as a bearish signal. And remember, we are not getting too excited at that point, even despite the fact that we have a breakdown of the $83.70 level. We still want to be patient enough to wait for price action to give us further confirmation in the form of a retest of the structure before we want to be joining the decline to the downside. And the reason why we will always wait for a signal in the form of a retest of structure is simply because the breakdown of that level could actually turn out to be a false breakdown. And if that is, we would need some further confirmation in, like I said, in the form of a retest of this level, followed by selling pressure on our lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. And that will give us a further confirmation that sellers are actually in on this market. However, as we continue to see buying pressure around this area, so I was able to identify this demand zone right around the $83.70 area and the $84 area precisely. And I actually took advantage of an opportunity right above this level because considering the fact that we have been having this buying pressure since the beginning of the week, I am hoping that this buying pressure will continue to hold this pressure in such a way that it breaks out the $85 level, which also shares a confluence with the bearish trend line that I was able to identify earlier to send price going further to the upside. So I'm looking forward to a bullish momentum as we head into the New York session today. And one thing I will say here is that it's appropriate to join at this point in time, and let's see how far this is going to take us. Now, for those who are still thinking of selling the US oil, considering the fact that we have this bearish trend line holding selling pressure since the beginning of the week, well, I will say that we should remain patient at this point, as the demand zone that we have identified here has been negating all selling pressure, and really need to take that into consideration at this point. And the only reason I said we should be selling this is to wait for a signal in the form of the breakdown of that demand zone, taking out all the sell pressure, sell position around that area, retest of structure to join the decline to the downside. So, but if this does not happen, then we continue to look forward to that buy momentum. And one thing you will notice here that also gave me a clue of buying this, besides the demand zone identified here, is if you look at the selling pressure that has started the week. Let me give you a visual representation of what I'm talking about here. Look at the first impulsive move that started this week around the $89 level. You saw how that impulsive move took price right into the $83.70 level. Now let's look at the second impulse leg here that started around the $87 area. You can see the pressure appears to have reduced here. So you saw the pressure appears to have reduced here. And this is a sign that the selling pressure is reducing. we are not going to be selling unless price breaks down that demand zone at this point. So that's what we are going to be looking forward to. So if price continues to the upside here after taking advantage of this opportunity here, a breakout of the trend line retest of structure could welcome another position after identifying buying pressure on our lower time frame right above the $85 level. And if price continues to go to the upside, breaking out of the very important key level we identified on the daily time frame, then a retest of that structure as well will welcome another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. So at this point in time, considering the current structure here, I have placed my take profit target somewhere around the $89.50 level, which will be dovetailing to over 500 pips, which is not bad enough. After at least since the beginning of the week, we have been very profitable on the US oil. So this is my view here on the US oil. If you have any questions regarding what I've just explained so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section, and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. Well, I'll be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the chat and see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next pair. So we have 74 Mike in the house. Good morning to you. We have Sabine. Good morning, Sabine. 8193. Okay. Thanks for the compliment. Dino, you're welcome. All right. Who else do we have? Okay, we're all safe here, Dino. Thank you for that thoughtful, that beautiful thought. All right. So I guess there are no questions, and I want to assume that this explanation is well orchestrated for our understanding. So let's move on to the next pair. And the next pair we are going to be looking at is the US Tech. And what do we have here on the US Tech? In fact, we had a very beautiful scenario here on the US Tech, as we are currently running in profit. If you have taken advantage of that move, well, let's quickly run through what our expectations was at yesterday before we go into the details of what we are going to be planning for today. Now, as at yesterday, we were around this area, right around that bullish trend line that we have identified here. And remember, we took advantage of this opportunity, this bullish opportunity at the breakout of the $11,850 level. Remember, we saw our price was caught within this consolidation phase the first couple of days of this week. And one thing I said here is that we want to remain patient, wait out for structures to give us further confirmation to join any potential opportunity here. And I said a structure, a signal will either come in the form of a breakdown of the support level at 11,720 to give us a signal of a bearish momentum, or we could be having a breakout of the 11,850, which is the resistant level of that channel, to signal that bullish momentum. We actually took advantage of this move on, I think on Tuesday, later on Tuesday, we saw this breakout over 200 pips there before this bearish momentum happened. And actually price came back into the entry zone, that is the resistant level of the channel here. And you know, from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakout of a structure, we expect that price will likely come back to do a retest of structure that will be inciting a trend continuation to the upside. But this is not what happened yesterday. We saw price come back into the 11,900, despite the fact we saw a lot of buying pressure around this area. Price came back into the $11,900 area, and met still resistance around that area. And one thing I said yesterday is that we should move our stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit, or move our stop loss to break even, just in case any selling pressure comes in to take us out of our position. And one thing I stated here is, for those who missed out on this opportunity, that we should hold on and see if this momentum here will continue bullish. And what we want to be looking out for is a breakout of the 11,900, retest of structure to join the rally. And if that does not happen, price continues to the downside, we finally see a breakdown of that bullish trend line, retest of structure, we want to be joining the decline to the downside. Unfortunately for us, this is exactly what happened, as we finally saw the breakdown of that bullish trend line that we identified here, that you can see on your screen with the purple dotted line. So the breakdown of that bullish trend line gave us that signal. Breakdown retest here on our lower time frame gave us that signal, and we'd actually join right below the $11,850 level. So for those who are taking advantage of this opportunity, kudos to you for being on standby, as you will currently be running with over 140 pips in profit on this first position. And I also had a second position running during the early hours of today after seeing this first rejection here. We saw selling pressure here pushing price to the downside. Another selling pressure here. We joined here. If you are taking advantage of that move, kudos to you for being on standby. So one thing I will be saying here is that we want to be locking our profit. We want to protect our position against any sudden pullback that might likely happen at this point. So what we are going to be doing here is to move our stop loss. And one thing I will be suggesting here is somewhere around the $11,800 max, somewhere above that level is most appropriate to be placing our stop loss. And let's see how price action will play out from this point. So with that being said, as we have locked in our position at this point, what is going to be our plans as we head into the New York session today? Is the selling momentum going to continue from this point to the downside, or will the buying pressure right around the $11,700 area here push price further to the upside? So this is what we are going to be looking at today. So let's scale up to the daily time frame. Let's see what is really going on the higher time frame. Let's see what structure we have here. If that structure we can see on the daily time frame will still be supporting the sell momentum, and then we will come back here on the 1 hour time frame to make a decision for today. So right now we are back on the daily time frame, and obviously on the daily time frame we are on a long-term bearish momentum, as you can see here. And as a result of this, I was able to connect the series of lower highs here to give us that resultant bearish trend line, which has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of the year. And something interesting happened here in the month of June, as we can see that around the $11,000 mark, we saw that every attempt by the sellers to push price to the downside has been met with strong resistance by the buyers. So we saw the first attempt by the buyers to push price to the upside here in the month of June, and the same thing happened again in the month of October, as continued pressure around this area continued to negate all selling momentum at this point. And as a result of this, we were able to identify this area as a demand zone, as we were looking for buying opportunity around that area. But one interesting thing happened here. Despite the fact that we saw buying pressure here, we can see how the $11,700 level has been holding certain niche for participants in this market since the later part of the month of September. So we saw this area holding selling pressure. In fact, the selling pressure here hereby shifted the demand zone further to the downside to somewhere around the $10,500 area. So we saw buying attempts again from this area to incite another wave of bullish momentum, which finally started during the later part of last week's trading session around this area. And in fact, they moved last week. Hold on a second. Let me zoom this house out a little further so that we can see things more clearly here. So we saw this engulfing candle, which took price right out of that demand zone to the upside back into the $11,700 level, a level which has been holding selling pressure since the breakdown happened in the month of September. Now, with the breakout of the $11,700, in fact, we have a little breakout of that structure. Will the trend continuation happen here? Are we going to be seeing a situation where price will evolve into a trend continuation pattern to send price going to the upside? Or are we going to be seeing a situation where the breakout of this area might turn out to be a false breakout, where a reversal pattern around this area could send price crashing further to the downside? So these are the scenarios we were looking at the beginning of the week, though despite the fact that price still remains right above the $11,700 mark, I'm of the opinion that we might still be seeing this as a false breakout. As you can see what happened here on Tuesday, we saw the sharp rejection of this level, hereby making that candle to close in the form of a shooting star. And when we have a shooting star like this, it tells us how much selling pressure still exists at this point in the market. So one thing I'll be suggesting here is that we need to be mindful of buying the US tech at this point in time, as the situation that's around this area is looking more like a reversal pattern at this point. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have an impulsive leg like this, we expect at one point in time price might evolve into a retracement fake back into the golden zone area, which this retracement phase will obviously be a reflection of profit-taking activities in the market, and this retracement phase might anticipate the second wave of that bullish momentum. So how far this retracement phase is going to go is what we don't know at this point, and because to help us identify how far it's going to go, the potential area this retracement phase might head on to, we were able to use our Fibonacci retracement tool, run it through the previous impulse leg, and we were able to identify somewhere around, okay, I think I used this impulse leg here. So we were able to identify somewhere within the 50 at the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg as our yardstick for take profit target if a sell momentum goes on here on the US tech. So this is my scenario here on the daily time frame. And as you can see, what we have here, it's looking more like a reversal pattern, and it's could actually lead into the breakdown of the 11,700 retest of structure to send price crashing to the downside in such a way that we might be anticipating another wave of a bullish momentum. So let's scale down a little bit further into a lower time frame. Let's see what is going on here, after which we are going to be making our decision for today. Now, when we scale down to, let me see what is happening on the 3 hours time frame, for instance. If we look at what is happening here on the 3 hours time frame, what's the first thing we notice here? I showed you on the daily time frame that we have a reversal pattern around here. And if we look at what is happening on the 3 hours time frame, we have a structure that looks a little bit like a head and shoulder pattern. We have the left shoulder here, we have the head here. Price came back into this 11,720. Then we started seeing a consolidation phase around this area, which might likely turn out to be the right shoulder. And then if we finally have a breakdown of the $11,700 mark, this is the neckline area. Our retest to structure should further give us a confirmation that a retracement phase has come to stay. So at this point in time, first of all, let me bring closer this $11,700 mark. So we have the $11,700 area around here. Let me do some readjustments so that it fits into the current structure that we have here. So we have the $11,700 mark here. And one thing about the $11,700 in relation to the current structure around this area, which is looking like a reversal pattern here, I want to be using the $11,700 as a neckline area. And you know, from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a reversal pattern, we want to be identified a neckline that we shall be using as a trading guide for taking any opportunity here. So if price break further goes into breaking down that level, does a retest of structure on our lower time frame followed by selling pressure, we want to be confirming that we are on a retracement phase. So our take profit target should be somewhere around the $11,400 area and the $11,100 area, where I said we shall be anticipating buying opportunity from this level. So this is my view here on the US tech. And if we scale down to the 1 hour time frame, so let's see what's happening on the 1 hour time frame, and let's see, for those who had missed out on the opportunity we took advantage of yesterday, let's see if the market is going to be presenting us with another chance to join this decline. So remember, we have moved our stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit here, and we can see buying pressure existing around the $11,700 area. So what we want to be seeing during the New York session today is a breakdown of the $11,700 level. Remember, we are not getting too excited at the sight of such a signal. We want to see price take out all the buy position here, give us a signal, then we wait out for structures on lower time frame, where we look out for selling pressure right below the $11,700 level to join the further decline to the downside. So these are my views here on the US tech. And for those who are still thinking of buying the US tech, well, I will be suggesting that every buying thought process here should be placed on hold at this point in time, as we want to see how buyers are going to be relating to the current structure here. So for us to buy the US tech, well, I will be suggesting that we should be patient enough to wait for a breakout of the $11,850 area. And even if we have a breakout of that structure, I'm still not yet convinced that buying pressure could still exist at this point. If you look at this bullish trend line here, we saw the breakdown of the structure here, had 11,850 during the New York session yesterday. We saw the breakdown of that structure. And what do you expect from a technical standpoint? Whenever we cite a breakdown of a structure, there is a likelihood that price might come back to do the retest of the structure to incite a trend continuation to the downside. So even if we have a breakout of the 11,850, I'm still going to be very mindful of buying this, because we could still have a situation where price comes back into this area and then retest that bullish trend line to send price crashing to the downside. So buying the US tech at this point in time doesn't look very reasonable here. So we continue to look out for selling opportunities on the US tech. So if you have any question regarding what I just explained so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section. If you want me to shed more light in an aspect I just explained, you can drop in your inquiries herein. So I'll be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the charts before we move on to the next pair. So what do we have here? All right. Okay, we have hello Fetra. All right, good morning to you. 9811, good morning. 957, greetings to you as well. Okay, hi Max, I see you. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I guess we'll just have to move on to the next pair at this point. So the next pair we are going to be looking at is obviously the Euro USD. And on the Euro USD, what structure do we have here? And if you look at the current structure we have here on the Euro USD, the charts might look quite messy at this point, and this as a result of the huge consolidation phase we have been witnessing in the last 72 hours here. Now, look at what has been happening since on, let's see, is it on Tuesday thereabout? I think on Tuesday, we can see how price has been caught within the huge consolidation phase here, as we started seeing selling pressure around the 1.044500 level. We saw selling pressure around here, and we are of the opinion that patience is required at this point in the market. So where were we as at yesterday? Let me hold on a second. Let's see where we were as at yesterday's live session. So we were around, okay, we were around here. Okay, we were around the 1.045500 level. And one thing we said here is that, remember, we took advantage of this buy opportunity during the early hours of yesterday. And I told you to move your stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit here. And let's see how price action is going to be relating to the 1.044500 level, a level which has old selling niche at one point during the beginning of the week around that area. And I said, let's see how price will relate to that structure. Are we going to be having a breakout of that structure? And if a breakout happens, a retest of structure should be giving us a confirmation to join the rally to the upside. But that did not happen during the New York session yesterday. We finally saw the breakdown of this bullish trend line that we identified here. So we saw the breakdown of that trend line. Price came back to do the retest of structure, and we joined the sell momentum to the downside from that area. And at this point in time, price has continued to trend to the lower side, below the 1.04120 level, as we have this position running at this point in time. And for those who took advantage of the selling opportunity here on the Euro USD, well done to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. So what I'll be advising us to do here is to move your stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit, or move your stop loss to break even, as we don't want to get caught up in any sudden pullback that might happen here, taking us out of our position in a loss. So since we already had some profit here, let me see how much profit are we having here running at this point in time. So we have about 45-50 pips there about running in profit. So what we want to be doing is to lock in our profit at this point. So as we head into the New York session today, what is going to be our plans as we head into the New York session today? Well, if we look at the structure here, at this morning, during the early hours of today, I shared on my platform that if we cite a breakout of the structure, that is, price breaks out of the 1.03990 level, retest of structure, followed by buying pressure on the lower time frame, we want to be buying the Euro USD, but that is yet to happen. Though we had a breakout of that structure, but the breakout wasn't that significant as price came back and continued to drop to the downside. So currently price is at a critical level right now at the 1.03600 level. And if we look at how the 1.03600 level has been holding price action since the beginning of the week, you can see that that level is a very important structure that we need to take into consideration trying to trade the Euro USD during the New York session today. Now, what do I mean by that? At the beginning of the week, price started at around that 1.03600 level here. We saw selling pressure around this level. We pushed price to the downside. That is one scenario here. And then we saw attempt by the buyers to break above this level, and another selling pressure came in at that particular point in time. Though we had the breakout of the structure, which we took advantage of on Monday, and we saw that price came back again right below the 1.03600 area. And since then, we saw a huge consolidation phase around this area before the breakout of that structure happened. And when the breakout happened, price came back to do a retest of structure. And in fact, we've been having a retest of that area since in the last 24 hours. Now, 24 to 30 hours now, we've been having that rejection of that level. So because of this rejection here, we saw that's sign of buying pressure around that area. And because of this, I told you to lock in your profit, move your stop loss accordingly. Let's lock in some profit here and let's see how price will play out. Now, what we want to be looking at is this. For those who had missed out on this opportunity and those who would like to add more position to the selling opportunity that we've identified here, well, I will be suggesting that we remain patient, wait for a breakdown of the 1.03600 level. Remember, this level has been a selling niche for participants in this market. At the beginning of the week, we saw selling pressure. So let's see a breakdown of that structure happen, after which a retest of structure will be giving us further confirmation to join the decline to the downside. So these are the scenarios we want to be looking at to sell the Euro USD as we head into the New York session today. So with that being said, the next question we want to be asking right now is that will this buying pressure hold a bullish momentum, considering the fact that we are on a bullish momentum since last week on this one? So are we going to be seeing a situation, what if price does not break down, retest the 1.03600 level, but instead climbs up to the upside? Are we going to be missing this opportunity? Well, we want to also get ourselves prepared for this opportunity if price climbs to the upside. So what we want to be doing first of all is to have an holistic view of what is going on here. So we want to scale up to the daily time frame. For those who missed out on the early sessions for this week, so they can also have a view of what our expectations were and how we came about all the decision we had made so far. And also we want to see if the current structure lines up with what we have on the higher time frame. So when we scale up to the daily time frame here, what can we find here? So on the daily time frame, obviously price action has been on a long-term bearish momentum, at least in the last 2 years here. And as a result of this, we had this bearish trend line figured out after connecting this series of lower highs here, as you can see on your screen. So we connected these points together to give us that resultant bearish trend line. And that's why we have the major trend line here. And since the beginning of the year, we have this temporary trend line, which you can see as the dotted line on your screen. And if we follow the major trend line here, we can see that price is right back at that trend line at this point, making the current structure in this market a critical point in time. And we need to be very, very mindful of how we take advantage of any trading opportunity here. And if we look at what happened here a couple of days ago, we saw a sharp rejection of this level, thereby closing that candle closing in form of a shooting star, which is a sign that selling pressure is still very, very strong at this point in time. Now, in addition to the bearish trend line, in addition to the fact that price is right around the bearish trend line, is a very important key level at the 1.03750 level. If we look at the structure here, if we go into the past, we can see how this level has been a major determinant of price action. Look at what happened here in the month of May. We saw buying pressure around this area. The same thing happened here in the month of June, buying pressure around this area, though the pressure here wasn't strong enough as it was met with strong resistance from the sellers, hereby pushing price right below the 1.03750 level in the month of July. And since the breakdown happened in the month of July, price has continued to trade right below the structure, hereby emphasizing the strength of the sellers at this point. And if you look at what is happening here, price is still right around the 1.03750, and there is a tendency that we could be having a bearish momentum at this point, respecting the bearish trend line one more time. If we start seeing selling pressure around this area or right below the 1.03750 on our lower time frame, which might likely bring price right back into the $1 level, which has been holding price activity in the last couple of months now. And if we look at this critically from a technical standpoint, when we have a breakout of a structure like the bullish momentum we saw last week, which took us right out of the $1 mark, a very strong psychological level, when we have a breakout of a structure like this, at one point in time, we expect that price is likely going to come back to do a retest of the structure. And if we start noticing selling pressure right below the 1.03750, I'm of the opinion that this might likely be a retracement phase that might lead price back into this bullish trend line, or probably the key level here at the $1 mark, in anticipation of the second wave of that bullish momentum. So this is one of the scenarios we want to be looking at right from this juncture here. So we could have a reversal pattern here. And the other possible scenario that we could see from this level is a situation where we could be having a trend continuation pattern around here. It could come in form of a bullish rectangular pattern, a falling wedge, or a flag pattern, whatever it is. Breakout retest of structure in lower time frame can be sending price going to the upside. So these are one of the few things we are going to be looking at on the 1 hour time frame. So let's scale back down to the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what is going on here, how participants in this market has been relating to the structure since the beginning of the week, after which we are going to be making a decision based on what we have identified on the 1 hour time frame. So let's scale back down to the 1 hour time frame and let's see what is going on there. So right back to the 1 hour time frame. So now when we get back to the 1 hour time frame, we can see that following this impulsive move that started last week, we had this impulse leg that started last week and peaked at around the 1.048800 level. And since price tested that area, we have been witnessing selling pressure from that level. So we had the first touch here, price came back into the 1.03150 level, and then buyers tried to push price again to the upside, but price was unable to break the previous high. And when price is unable to break the previous high, what does that tell us? It tells us that that's a lower high. That's the first thing it tells us. And secondly, we might be having a situation where the structure here might evolve into a reversal pattern that will be sending price crashing to the downside as long as buyers are unable to break the previous high. So now with the situation we have here, will the selling opportunity we took advantage of yesterday continue to hold? That's one question we are asking, and let's see what the structure here is giving us. So with the structure here, I want us to draw out the 1.03150, which to me at this point will be serving as a neckline of a possible reversal pattern here. And what do I mean by that? Look at what we have here. We have this impulsive move to the upside. Price tested the 1.04800 level. Price came back into the 1.03150, which at this point is looking like my neckline. Price came back here at the 1.044500 level. And I'm of the opinion that we might be having price coming back into the 1.03150, probably break down that structure to give us a confirmed reversal pattern in the form of a double top structure around this area. So if this is going to be the structure happening here, well, then we might be good to be selling the Euro USD as price breaks down the 1.03150 retest of structure. Then we could be confirming a continued trend continuation to the downside. And if that is going to be happening, where will our take profit target be? Well, if we take into consideration this impulse leg, we want to be running our retracement tool right along the previous impulse leg here, and we should definitely be aiming at somewhere between the 50% and the 78.6% area, which is our golden zone area, as a profit target area. So let me readjust my TP target to somewhere around here. So we have somewhere within the, hold on a second. So we have somewhere within the 1.0200 level and the 1.00500 area as a possible take profit target for the existing sell position that is running right now. So for those who are looking for long-term perspective, yeah, well, you might want to wait for price to come down and break down the neckline here at the 1.03150 retest of structure. It could be a retest of this level or the retest of the 1.03600 level, but the most important thing we want to be seeing is selling pressure on our lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. So that is one scenario for selling the Euro USD. Now the second scenario is this. Let me delete this trend line, as this is now the trend line we want to be using as our yardstick for trading opportunities for today. So we have this trend line figured out after connecting the series of lower highs. Let me show you how I did that. So we connected the series of lower highs here. We had a low, first low, we had another low here, we had another low here, and then we had a couple of lows here in the last 12 hours. And during the early hours of today, we finally saw the breakdown of that trend line, giving us a bearish signal at this point. And you can see what's happening here since the beginning of the week. If I bring out my line chart, connecting the series of lower highs here, we have something like a consolidation phase, price breaking down of that consolidation phase at this point. So for those who had missed out on this opportunity here, well, let's wait and see how this is going to play out. Are we going to be having a situation where price come back to do a retest of the structure? It's going to be the retest of the bullish trend line or the retest of the bearish trend line here, or somewhere around the 1.04120, followed by sending pressure to move price to the downside. That is one scenario that we want to be looking forward to take advantage of the selling momentum. Or we could wait for price to come back down, break down the 1.03150 level, retest of structure, followed by sudden pressure on our lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. So we have between here and here as our take profit targets at least a minimum of 200 pips to a maximum of about 350 pips to catch here as price action moves in our favor. So that is that on the Euro USD. If you have any question regarding what I've just explained here, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section. Now, there's one more thing I want to share here. Despite the fact that we saw this breakdown of the structure, we shouldn't be getting too excited that, oh, we're having a selling momentum, so let me just sell outrightly. We can't just jump into such conclusion. Remember, we are on a long bullish momentum since last week, and this could turn out to be a false breakdown. So we want to be very, very careful. So that's why for those who are already in this trade, it's a very good opportunity for you. Just move your stop loss accordingly. Lock in some profit here, because there could still be a situation where price might break out of the structure, break out of this trend line to incite a trend continuation to the upside. So we want to be very, very mindful of this, and let's keep our option open at this junction in the market. So that is that. Let me quickly run through the charts. I think the next 10-15 seconds. Let's see what is going on before I move on to the next pair. So okay, we have 799 the house. Good morning. All right, Khabib says video keep loading. Well, I will suggest you just restart your app at this point. It might be due to network issues, so try to restart your app. Okay. Oh, I thought I have a slow internet. Okay, I think I have another comment here saying that it's loading. Okay, 506, good morning. Can somebody please confirm to me that the network is not, you are not seeing my screen, please? I need some confirmation here before I move on, because I have a couple of comments here saying that their chats keep loading. So I want to know if it's from my hand or it's from your hand, so that okay, Stimula just confirmed that it's okay. I will grind 01 and Khabib 7. Please kindly shut down your app, reload the app, and let's see what happens afterwards. It might be network issues from your hand. Okay. All right, thank you very much for that. Okay, 506, good morning. Thank you very much, Steamroller, for that update. Okay. Steamroller XAG next week, please. All right, please, Steamroller, I will try as much as possible to do that. I would have wished you were part of the session on Monday so that we can just have included that in the plan for the week, okay? Okay, Steamroller said the chat can lag out phone. Okay, I see. All right. Moving on to the next pair. I have less than 10 minutes to run through the last couple of pairs. So let's quickly run through the GBP/USD. So on the GBP/USD, we have a similar setup with what we have on the Euro USD, and I think the GBP/USD and the Euro USD are moving hand in hand this week. So the first, since we are actually profitable on this pair, remember, we took advantage of this move during the early days of the week. I think on Tuesday we took advantage of this bullish momentum, which gave us how many people was that? Which gave us over 200 pips in profit here as we as price found a selling niche at around the 1.19700 level, and since then, since the beginning of the week, since price got into this level, buyers have been unable to break above this previous high, hereby emphasizing that the sellers are becoming stronger at this point in the market. So with the current structure we have here, all buying momentum appears to be negated at this point, and what we want to be looking forward to here is selling momentum, and I think somewhere right below the 1.1800 level seems most appropriate to be selling the GBP USD. And for those who actually took advantage of this move right below the 1.18800 level, kudos to you for being on standby of taking advantage of that move. Well, and the way things are going here, we can see the bullish trend line that has been holding buying pressure since the later part of last week. Remember, we identified this bullish trend line at the beginning of the week. We saw how buyers continued to live on this bullish trend line, pushing price further to the upside, which led to the highest peak price got to at the 1.200 level, a very strong psychological level. And since then, we are seeing pressures here again, but now we finally saw the breakdown of the structure. Well, at this point in time, we can't say this is a final breakdown anyways, as this candle is still about 54 minutes old and still has about 6 minutes left, and anything will actually happen at this point. So what I'll be saying is this: for those who had missed out on this opportunity, well, I want to let you know that the market might still give us a second chance, and this might likely come in the form, if we have a breakdown, probably price might come back in the form of a retest of the structure. It could be the retest of that bullish trend line or the retest of the 1.18800 level, after which we look out for selling pressure on our lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. And it might even come as a sharp rejection of the 1.18. In fact, if we scale down to our lower time frames at this point in time, let's see what is happening on the 5 minutes time frames, for instance. So while I load up my 5 minutes time frame, let's see what we have here. So this is the 5 minutes time frame here, and we already have a breakdown of that structure. So we had the breakdown of that. We already had the breakdown retest of that structure, which appears to have confirmed that breakdown. And well, there is still a likelihood that price might still come back to do a retest of that structure. If it does, please be on standby so that you can take advantage of that move to the downside. So that is that on the GBP USD. Let's quickly go through the daily time frame on the GBP USD and see if the structure we just identified here still lines up with the expectation on the higher time frame. Well, on the higher time frame here, that is the daily time frame, obviously price action has been on a bearish momentum. So we had a bearish trend line figured out at that point. But the most important structure here looks like the 1.1800 level at the beginning of the week. But it appears things are changing right now. If we look at the current structure here, it appears the 1.1900 level is going to be the structure we want to be looking at here. So if we look at what happened here, okay, so we have the 1.19. Is it the 1.19 or the 1.195? I guess 195. So this has been readjusted. Please update your chart accordingly. So we have this 1.195 as a very critical level at this point. And one thing I also noticed here, just like we did on the Euro USD, we saw the sharp rejection of this level, this candle closing in a shooting star, giving us a sign that there is tendencies of selling pressure around that area. And if we go to the past and look at how the 1.195 has been holding or determining price action here, we saw here in the month of June how this level was holding buying pressure. The same thing happened in the month of July. We saw buying pressure around this area before the breakdown happened in the month of August. And since the breakdown happened, price has continued to trade right below that level, hereby emphasizing the strength of the sellers at this point. And now, looking at what we have here, price is right back into the 1.19500 level. And since the beginning of the week, we've been having multiple rejection of the 1.19500 level to emphasize the strength of the sellers at this point. So there is a likelihood that we could be having, despite the fact that we had this bullish momentum running since last week, we might be having a situation where selling pressure is identified on our lower time frame right below the 1.195 area that might send price right back into this very important key level at the 1.1400 area. Remember how important the 1.1400 level has been. It has been a strong selling niche for for close to 2 months before the final breakout of that structure happened during the course of last week's trading session. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakout of a structure like this, there is a likelihood that price might come back to do a retest of that structure in anticipation of a trend continuation to the upside. And if you look at how important the 1.14 area is, we can see it shares a confluence with both the bearish trend line, the bullish trend line, and even the key level here, so giving us how important that level is. So if price comes within that area, we want to be mindful of how we are going to be taking advantage of an opportunity around that area. So that is the scenario we are looking forward to here. So a possible selling pressure right below the 1.19500 level on our lower time frame will be confirming a selling momentum, which at this point in time might look like a retracement of this impulsive move that happened here. So let's see how this is going to play out. However, if at any point in time during the New York session today, price breaks out of the 1.19500 level, that is, we have an engulfing candle taking us out of that structure, well, we want to be looking at our lower time frame for buying pressure right below, right above the 1.195 to join the rally to the upside. So with the informations we have gathered here on the daily time frame, let's scale back down to the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what is going on and how we could join or add more position to the existing trade. So right back to the 1 hour time frame. So we're right back to the 1 hour time frame, and we have this bullish trend line. One part is going to be part of our structure for today. Then we have this trend line also, which has also been respected since the beginning of the week, as you can see here. So we have the first touch here at the beginning of the week, we had the second touch here, and we had the touch here yesterday, and then we saw a little breakout of the structure, which was our buy opportunity. We moved our stop loss accordingly, and price came back down again below the 1.1800 level. So what I will be saying here is this: since price is caught within a channel right now, so we have a channel right within the 1.19700 level. Let me place this right below. Okay, so we have a channel. We can see our price has been caught within this channel. So we have the resistance level at the 1.197, and we have the support level at the 1.18450 area. So we are within the channel right now, hereby emphasizing the indecision in this market. Let's see if there's any major event coming up today that might be affecting this pair. Okay, we don't have any for today. In fact, it has already happened yesterday, and we are still, participants in this market are still trying to figure out how the event yesterday will be affecting, because with what we can see here on Wednesday, we can see that the consumer price index came out very positive, which is a very good figure for the pound. But despite this, we continue to see selling pressure around this area. So there's still a likelihood that we might be having bullish momentum, reflecting the strength of the pound at this point in time. But for me to be buying the GBP/USD, I want to see price above the 1.1800 level to remain comfortable in a buy position here. So that is what we are going to be looking forward to buy and to buy it. I want to see price climb up the 1.18, well, probably a retest of structure with buying pressure here, then the breakout of the 1.197 retest of structure to join the trend continuation to the upside. But if price continues to stay below the 1.18, well, I will be suggesting that we remain bearish at that point. So what we are looking forward to at this point is a breakdown of the structure to sell the GBP/USD. That is breakdown of the structure here. Let's say a breakdown of the structure give us a bearish signal, after which a retest of structure on our lower time frame, followed by selling pressure, will be giving us that leverage to join the decline to the downside. And if we are going to be joining the decline to the downside, where will our take profit target be? Well, we already identified this at the beginning of the week after taking into consideration this impulsive move to the upside, as we run our Fibonacci retracement tool through the previous impulse leg here. And we have, hold on a second, I'm using this one. So we have between the 50 and the 78.6% as an area to look out for our take profit target, and also an area to look out for buying opportunity that will be inside the second wave of that bullish momentum. So we have between, let's say, how many pips? Between 170 pips to over 370 pips to catch here if price moves in our favor. And if price comes within the buy TP target here and we start seeing buying pressure here, we want to take advantage of the trend continuation to the upside. So that is that on the GBP/USD. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section of this video. 592, thanks you for that confirmation. Khabib, okay, all right. Are you good now, Khabib? So let's quickly do the last pair for today, and which is the XAUUSD. I'm going to run through this quickly, and let's see how this goes. Now, we are in a profitable trade here on the XAUUSD. As you can see here, we took advantage of that bearish momentum a couple of days ago, I think. Okay, yesterday, we took advantage of that move yesterday. And where are we as at yesterday? First of all, we identified this bullish trend line, which I said is going to be our yardstick for trading activities for yesterday's trading session. So we had this bullish trend line identified after connecting the series of higher lows here. As you can see, price has continued to respect that level. And then we had the breakdown of that structure during the course of the New York session yesterday. Now, we were around this point yesterday where price was around the $1,783 level. And one thing I stated here is this. I said that for us to buy this, remember we bought this anyways. We bought this here on Monday. We had this 1,000 pips profit here on Monday. Hold on a second. Let me show you. So we had this 1,000 pips profit on Monday. The same thing happened here again. We took advantage of this move here. And then on Tuesday here, we took advantage of this move when I told you to move your stop loss to lock in some profit so that we don't get caught up in any possible pullback that might happen there. Remember? Excuse me, I had to take some water. So we had this situation here yesterday, and I told you to move your stop loss to lock in some profits just in case price might likely push to the downside, considering the fact that we saw huge selling pressure here since the beginning of the week. And when I started seeing selling pressure around here, I think I shared this on my TradingView platform. We saw reversal patterns here, and then we took advantage of the selling momentum right below the $1,783 level. And since then, price has continued to trade to the downside. And then we had another opportunity to add one more position to this trade here at the breakdown retest of this bearish trend line as projected yesterday. I told you if price breaks down that trend line, retest of structure should be giving us a leverage to join the decline. And this is exactly what happened. A decline happened and trend continued to the downside, breaking down the 1,773. I shared this also on my platform. I said it's a selling continuation pattern. We want to be adding more position to the trade. And as of this morning too, I also shared this that there's going to be another sell continuation pattern right below the 1,768 level, which is exactly what has happened here. And well, if you had followed all these structures accordingly, you would probably have a minimum of two positions running at this point in time. So the next thing I will be saying here is to move your stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit, and what I'll be suggesting here is somewhere right above the $1,768 level as an area to lock in some profit. So above this level is looking very, very promising to put your stop loss, and let's see how this is going to play out. Now, with the current structure we have here, as we head into the New York session today, what is going to be our plans? Are we still going to continue to sell the XAUUSD, or are we going to be looking out for buying momentum right around this area to join the rally to the upside? So these are the two scenarios we want to be looking at for today. Now, if we look at the current structure here and look at what has been happening since yesterday, we saw our price plunge into the $1,760 level, and we saw a sharp rejection of that structure. Price came back into the 1,768 level. Then we saw selling pressure around this area, which we took advantage of, and we saw a situation here. It looks as if price wants to reject that level one more time, and it could probably evolve into a double bottom structure, a very strong reversal pattern to send price going back into the $1,783 level, the strong selling niche at the beginning of the week. Well, that might likely happen, but we want to also prepare ourselves should price continue to the downside at this point. So the next structure I will be identifying here, and we shall be using this as our trading, as our guide, as our yardstick for trading opportunity for today, and that is the $1,762.50 level. So let's label this level $1,762.50 level. So we should have this level at the back of our mind, just in case we have a breakdown retest of that structure. We want to be adding more position to this trade. And if you actually missed out on these opportunities that I showed you here, then a breakdown retest of the structure should give us a leverage to join that decline to the downside. And if price further breaks down the $1,755 level, then a retest of that structure should welcome another opportunity to add more position to the existing trade. And one thing I want us to know about this bearish momentum that we have been witnessing since the beginning of the week, as soon as price tested the $1,783 level, we saw multiple rejection by the sellers here, negating all buying pressure at that particular point in time. I want to be seeing this bearish move as a retracement phase. This is a reflection of profit-taking activities in this market. Those who are taking advantage of this opportunity that started last week around this area are probably taking some profit. At least they want to make some profit on whatever position they have taken. So that's why we are seeing this situation here. And how far will this retracement go will determine where our take profit target for the sell position is going to be. And in order to identify the take profit target for the sell position here, I have a couple of scenarios here. The first one is this impulse leg here. When we bring this up into this level, so we have a TP target right within the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse. That is one scenario here. Then if we extend this impulse leg down to this place, we have between here and here as a TP target. So we have a huge place for TP target here. So we have a minimum of about 3,700 pips to a maximum of about 9,000 pips to catch here if price continues to the downside. So let's see how this plays out during the New York session today. So if price continues to the downside in such a way that price breaks down the 1,762.50 level, retest of that structure, you want to add one more position to that trade. And if price continues to the downside, breaks down the 1,755, it means that the retracement phase wants to go again. You had one more position as price continue into our TP target zone. And remember, this TP target zone is an area we are looking forward to buying opportunity that might incite the second phase of the bullish momentum that started last week. So on this note, I want to call it a day. But before I do, let's do a quick recap of what our expectations are on all of the pairs we talked about today. Now, the first pair we looked at today is the US oil, and on the US oil, we continue to see selling pressure. As you can see here now, I've been taken out of my position right now at break even as price has broken right back down into that demand zone. And one thing we observed here on the US oil is that price action has been on a bearish turn since the beginning of the week, and as a result of this, we had this bearish trend line figured out at this point as price action continued to respect that trend line. But one important structure here is the demand zone that we identify right here around the $84 area, which has been holding certain pressure in the last 48 to 72 hours now. So because of this buying pressure here, I'm still thinking that a buying momentum could come in from this level, breaking out of the $85 level, retest of structure to same price going to the upside. That is one scenario I'm looking forward to at this point. But if we finally see a breakdown of this demand zone, that is price breaks down this demand zone, taking out all the sell position, taking out all the buy position here, then I want to be seeing this as a bearish signal, after which we wait for a retest of structure to give us further confirmation to join the decline to the downside. Remember, we are very profitable on the US oil for this week. Remember, we took advantage of this move right below the $88.20 into the structure here, and let's see if the structure is going to be broken to give us another bearish momentum. But if price continues to rally above this, let me use the $84.20 level area, above this area, if price climbs above that area, I want to be buying that level. And if a further breakout of that structure happen, retest of structure followed by buying pressure on lower time frame, I want to add more position to my buy trade if price moves in that direction. So that is that on the US oil. Then we went on to talk about the option US tech. And on the US tech, as you can see right now, we already have the breakdown of that structure. For those who are taking advantage of that move, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that breakdown. As we can see, remember I shared with you that we saw a reversal pattern right above the $11,700 mark area. We saw selling pressure here, despite the fact we took advantage of this buy opportunity at the beginning of the week. We saw selling pressure pushing price right to the downside, breaking down this bullish trend line. And in fact, we have a structure here that looks more like a reversal pattern. You can see we have the left shoulder here, we have the head, and then we have the right shoulder around this point, which has evolved into a consolidation phase, hereby breaking down the neckline area of that reversal pattern below the $11,700 area to confirm a reversal pattern, to confirm a mature reversal pattern. So for those who are taking advantage of that move, kudos to you. And for those who have been enjoying this run since yesterday, kindly move your stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit somewhere above the 11,800 is where I told you to lock in your profit here, and let's see how price action will play out. So we have our take profit target sitting right within the 11,400 and the $11,100 area. So we have a minimum of 300 to catch here and a maximum of about 650 pips to catch here if price continue to move in our favor. And I told you that this retracement phase is more or less going to be, this bearish move is going to be a retracement phase of that impulse leg. So we are looking forward to how far this retracement phase is going to go before the second wave of the bullish momentum finally happens. So let's see how this plays out, and tomorrow definitely we'll be coming here to deliberate on this. Then we moved on to talk about the Euro USD, where we also have a similar scenario where we saw the breakdown of that bullish trend line here to emphasize the strength of the sellers at this point. So we actually joined this decline from this area yesterday, and price has continued to trade to the downside. I told you to move your stop loss accordingly somewhere above the 1.03900 level. Looks more promising to lock in your profit here, and let's see how price action plays out. Then I also shared with you that we have the reversal pattern here, which looks like a double top structure. We had the first touch here, price came into the neckline area here at the 1.03150 level, and buyers were unable to break the previous high here, hereby finding a lower high. So I'm of the opinion that we might be having price come down to break down the neckline area at the 1.03150 level to confirm this reversal pattern, after which a retest of structure followed by selling pressure on lower time frame could incite a trend continuation to the downside. So this is what we are looking forward to. And one thing I also stated here is that another situation we might be looking forward to, if you can't wait for price to break down to 1.03150, is that if a breakdown of this trend line happens and at one point in time price comes back to do a retest of structure followed by selling pressure, we want to add more position to the existing trade. So we have two positions that we possibilities here. That is the breakdown retest of this trend line to join the sell momentum. That is the breakdown retest of this trend line to join the sell momentum, or the breakdown retest of this neckline at the 1.03150 to join this momentum. So we have our take profit target sitting right within the 1.02 and the 1.00500 level. So let's see how this plays out in the New York session today. Then we went on to talk about the GBP USD, where we also have a similar scenario. For those who are taking advantage of this move, kudos to you. We took it right below the 1.18800 level as price action has continued to trade to the downside. So now we have a breakdown of that trend line. So for those who missed out on that opportunity, let's see if the market will present us with another opportunity to join this decline. And if you're already in this trade, you might want to add more position at this point, with a take profit target sitting right within the 1.1700 level and the 1.1500 area. So that is the scenario we are looking forward to on GBP USD, but we shouldn't ignore the possibility that a bullish momentum could come in here, considering the fact that we have been on a bullish momentum since last week. So there is a possibility that price might break above again, that is climb right back above that bullish trend line, retest of structure to send price going to the upside. So let's keep that option also open when we start seeing buying pressure right above the 1.1800 level. Then we close the day with the XAU USD, where I explained to you that we have been in a sell momentum since yesterday, and I've told you to move your stop loss to somewhere above the 1,768 as an area to move our stop loss here to lock in some profit, so that we don't get caught up in any sudden pullback that might likely happen around this area. Then one thing I also stated here, for those who are going to be trading this pair afresh for today, we have made our job easier by identifying the area around the $1,762.50 level. And one thing I said here is that if price breaks down that level, retest of that structure, we want to be joining that decline. And for those who are already in this trade, is another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. So that is that on the XAUSD. We have our take profit target. In fact, we have a huge take profit target zone where we said we are going to be looking forward to buying opportunities at this point in time. So on this note, I want to call it a day here, and I really appreciate every single one of you for being around, and I hope I was able to lay out all the possible scenarios that is likely going to be happening on all of the pairs we treated for today. So I will be advising us to be on standby so that we can take advantage of this move when it finally happens. Remember, you don't want to get too excited. We don't want to get too excited when we cite a signal which might likely come in the form of a breakout or breakdown of a structure. We want to be waiting for further confirmation on our lower time frame, where we want to be seeing the retest of that structure to give us that leverage to join the rally or decline. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. Let's come here again and review all of the pairs we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week, and let's review how well they have been doing so far. And if there are any suggestions or advices, I will be sharing them on those pairs during the live session tomorrow. So once again, thank you very much. I wish you a wonderful day. Best of luck today, and regards to your family as well. Bye bye.